like I say, nice slow start. We do have some more people arriving, but this webinar today is a focus what that means and that synergy between the E5 licensing, or the elements of what elements of the E5 licensing are relevant when looking at data security, general security, and Microsoft Copilot. So on the agenda today, I'll kind of run through, and again, I don't mean to patronize or what have you, but I will run through the pivotal role. Everyone on this call knows the pivotal role of data in today's organizations. I'll then take a good overview of really where we are with Microsoft Copilot, what Copilots are actually available. We'll then take a look into the Copilot and E5 licenses, the relationship, the synergy between those two things, and provide some real world examples of why benefiting, of why upgrading to E5 if you don't already have or some of those components in a real world example. We will then take a bit of a closer look at something that was announced yesterday for those, hot off the press, the general availability and release of Microsoft Copilot for security. So I had a certain agenda, and then obviously that news came out yesterday. So it is a good example of how Microsoft has still got this real pace of change, and new products and new features are being added. And in this case, it was announced yesterday that Microsoft Copilot for security is going to be on general availability from the 1st of April. So that's something that I will also be talking about at the end of this webinar as well. This is being recorded, and you will get a copy of the recording and of the slides afterwards. There is an opportunity for you to note down questions as you go, so please do that. If I am not able to cover them off in the webinar today, then someone, your account manager, myself, someone from the technical team will be able to kind of add any detail that I miss off, or if I miss those questions, or just ignore it because I don't know the answer and pretend I haven't seen it. The general approach to this webinar is a high-level overview. So we will cover these pieces, though I'm sure you're going to have many questions that are more specific and bespoke to yourself. There's going to be more areas that I touch upon on a couple of slides that you'll think, actually, I want to do a deep dive on that. I really need to actually understand where those vulnerabilities are, and I need to understand how I can cover off some of these advanced threats that are going to impact my specific organization. So this webinar is an introduction to those conversations of that link between data security, Copilot, and Microsoft's kind of E5 licensing, or just their Defender security stack, and where Compliance Manager comes in. But I am getting ahead of myself, but that's the intention from the webinar today, and hopefully we can continue this in conversations with your Ultima account team, or similarly with your licensing specialist. I should probably introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Ian Gerard. I am the head of the software team here at Ultima, obviously specifically focusing around Microsoft licensing. So I'm like a sales overlay, but you can contact me directly at ian.gerard@ultima.com, or your current licensing specialist, or your account team, account manager, or anyone that you know. We'll be more than happy to help. So like I said, I'm very kind of conscious of the attendees on this call today, and my intention is not to teach you to suck eggs, but we all know the pivotal role of data in today's organizations. It really is the lifeblood of modern businesses. It kind of drives innovation. All of that data decides your decision making. It lets you know about whether your customers are satisfied, lets you know whether you have got a competitive advantage. Data is an asset that needs to be protected from all unauthorized access, theft, corruption, loss. Data breaches have a huge, devastating impact on all organizations, whether that's kind of reputational damage, legal liability, regulatory fines, just general loss of trust. So again, as I'm sure you're aware, this is why data security is not just a technical issue, it's a strategic issue as well. Organizations need to adopt a comprehensive and proactive approach to safeguard all their data, to protect from all those things above, reputational damage, legal liability, so on and so forth, especially in this era of cloud computing, especially in this era of remote work and Copilot and artificial intelligence. So this webinar is going to explore how Microsoft Copilot, how those E5 licenses help you achieve that goal of kind of protecting that data, protecting your reputation. Now and I mentioned it before, there's been a lot of release and a lot of noise from Microsoft regarding Copilot, but I do always think it's worthwhile just taking breath and just thinking, what are the current Copilot products that are available? When someone just says, hey, Microsoft Copilot, what does that really mean? What's actually involved? What's actually included? And so on and so forth. And there's been many name changes as well. Just recently they renamed Microsoft 365 for Copilot to Copilot for Microsoft 365. Another example such as that. Products that were formerly Bing Chat Enterprise, so Microsoft Copilot, when someone says Microsoft Copilot now, actually, according to Microsoft, that is effectively the old Bing Chat Enterprise, right? So this Microsoft Copilot, interrogating the browser, is included within your kind of Microsoft 365 E3 and E5 license, nothing additional to buy. Also included in Business Standard, Microsoft 365 Business Standard, Business Premium. So it's included within those licenses. The next one we're coming to, Copilot for Microsoft 365. This is the kind of the add-on license. This is the one where you need to buy it for £25 per user per month. Whether you're on a CSP or an EA, it's the one that works with Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Office. It's where you need to have a qualifying license for Copilot for Microsoft 365. It's at £25, but you need to have E3 or an E5 license or Business Standard, Business Premium, Office 365 or M365. I'm very aware I'm talking gobbledygook if it comes to licensing for some. But my point is that if you want to buy Copilot for Microsoft 365, you have to have some licenses already. The Copilot for Microsoft 365 is the license where, you put it into Teams and get the transcriptions and Outlook and PowerPoint and Word and get all of that great stuff. Copilot Pro, the next one, that's for individuals, right? More of the home use or even super users who want to have their own kind of account, maybe sitting outside of your organization. Copilot for sales. So this is the Dynamics 365 integration of Copilot into your CRM. Copilot Studio. So again, kind of managing that, writing code, but basically, empowering users to create and kind of customize your own Copilots using your own natural language to interrogate particular workflows within your own organization. So you kind of easily design, tests, publish, so on and so forth, and new applications. That's using Copilot Studio. That is an additional licensing cost. It's something that you do need to buy as a subscription per user. And then finally, I think people were aware of Copilot for security, but I will cover that off at the end of the webinar as well. And you will get a copy of all these slides. And again, I just want to reiterate, I'm sure there's going to be more deeper questions that you will have following this as well. So when we're kind of looking at that link between Copilot and E5 licenses for kind of robust security, as we say, often starts with Defender for Endpoint, which provides that endpoint detection and response. It does that whole threat and vulnerability management. So this is where this kind of E5 level of licensing comes in. As part of the E5 licensing, you do get something called Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. And we have seen traditionally organizations utilize Defender for Endpoint when they've started to do Copilot. For example, if you were using Copilot Studio, you were helping it to write code better, faster. Your Copilot users will be analyzing that code, suggesting relevant high quality concept snippets, kind of whole functions. So Copilot generates the code from this natural language description, test cases, but then it also works with, within your programming language and your framework. So there is potentially the risk where this code is being released into the public cloud. So you need to make sure that your developers have some data security, and Copilot does access your code and data. So we need to make sure that when that code and data is sent to Microsoft servers for processing, that data is encrypted, it's anonymized, it's compliant with your own organization's policies and regulations, and therefore that's where things like Microsoft Defender for Endpoint come in as well. Similarly, with Microsoft Defender for Office 365, what I mentioned previously was maybe if you were using Copilot Studio, if you were using Copilot for Microsoft 365, you want to make sure you're protecting your emails and your collaborative tools from phishing, malware, and ransomware attack. A key component of the E5 license is Defender for Office 365. You can buy Defender for Office 365 as an individual component. So maybe if you were just looking at the Copilot for Microsoft 365 as your only Copilot, you might want to consider using Microsoft Defender for Office 365. If that's your only use case, you wouldn't really buy the whole Microsoft 365 E5 license, you just buy that individual component. But then similarly, you might have a need for controlling those applications that you're building through Studio or through other means. There could be, you need to be able to identify and prevent those data leaks, identify the risky behaviors, and everything else that you can see on the screen there. And that is all around cloud app security, another key component of that E5 license. Also, another component of the E5 license that we traditionally talk about when customers are looking at Copilot is information protection, Microsoft information protection. And that is, again, that kind of classification, that labeling of all of your data and documents. So you're protecting that sensitive data that you have as an organization. So you can kind of leverage the power of Copilot without compromising any of that data security. And similarly, Compliance Manager helps you assess and manage your compliance posture. Again, providing those tools to meet all of those regulatory obligations that you may have. We mentioned at the start that kind of loss of trust, that kind of regulatory fine. So understanding and utilizing Microsoft Compliance Manager is something that organizations who are looking at Copilot are having to get involved with as well. And I'm very aware that there's kind of other Microsoft products out, other security products out there that are non-Microsoft as well. So this is just one of the options. And if you're doing Copilot and you're thinking about all of these things and you're realizing that actually, Defender for Office 365, Cloud App Security and Compliance Manager is going to be something that's going to really protect and secure you moving forwards, then you're probably thinking, okay, well, should I actually buy that E5 license? Should I take my E3 license? Should I take my business premium license, my standard license? Should I actually add on that full E5 level of security? Yes, very possibly. You can buy just the E5 security licenses, or you buy those individual components. I'd still say, as a licensing specialist, that you're not necessarily going to justify that uplift to the full Microsoft 365 E5 just based on that enhanced data security that you'd need with Copilot. You'd probably want to need to explore and utilize some of the innovations within E5 as well. So a little bit of a tangent, but you would need to be also looking at leveraging something like Power BI, something like Power Automate, maybe Teams calling, Teams telephony, really to kind of cement that E5 position. Obviously, Microsoft can offer various incentives, but if you're purely looking at your data security posture for Copilot and you're thinking, well, actually that is included within E5, so I should definitely step up to the full Microsoft 365 E5, there's probably a use case to say, actually, you just want to consider the Microsoft 365 E5 security suite and not that full E5. Look, if you're doing things where you are talking about innovation and Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, full Teams telephony, then brilliant. Then the full E5 conversation really starts to make better return on your investment, a more sensible, more cost-effective approach. I wanted to run through a couple of examples. Again, these have been supplied by Microsoft, so I want to be relatively upfront in regards to where I found these. Where I got these from, kind of supplied via Microsoft. First one, again, being a relatively high level idea, whether there's a healthcare company did kind of suffer a ransomware attack. It effectively put their encrypted patient records at risk. There was a ransom demand, so effectively this organization had to shut down all their operations for several days. They had to notify its customers, had to notify the regulators, had to pay the ransom to restore the data. And that Microsoft has said, and what I'm running through here is that this company could have avoided this scenario by effectively using Defender for Office 365. It would have blocked that malicious email. They would have utilized Defender for Endpoint, which would have detected and maybe isolated those infected devices, those specific infected devices. The company could have also used information protection, something we covered off a moment ago, and that would have made that it would have encrypted all of that sensitive data, labeled it all up, and prevented the attackers from kind of accessing it, which is a very nice, woolly, a perfect when you're looking for a case study. It's a good example of that. Another example, perhaps something which is a little bit more common, kind of a software company using Copilot to generate code for new features and utilizing that to get lots of kind of business benefits, improve their applications and what have you. But they for whatever reason, they didn't review the code carefully before deploying it. And this code contained basically a bug that identified the company's API keys and credentials to the public. So the company had to revoke the keys and credentials, fix the code, audit its systems for unauthorized access. This could have all been prevented by using Cloud App Security, Microsoft Cloud App Security, a key feature of E5. It would have altered the company from it would have alerted the company to any unusual or risky activities in its cloud service. The compliance manager would have helped the company follow best practices, just kind of stop that user sharing that code without checking it first. So compliance manager kind of using, bringing you benefits, kind of following those best practices and standards for secure coding. In general, Microsoft E5 does safeguard against these kind of data breaches. It prevents data breaches. So the idea is that if you upgrade to Microsoft 365 E5, you will enjoy those benefits. You will have detection and response to threats in real time with advanced analytics and automation as well, kind of utilizing the benefits of those Copilots. That's across all of your devices, apps, and cloud services. It complies with your industry regulations, with guidance and tools. It empowers your developers with Copilot without compromising any of your data security as well. So in that one, they're complying with your industry, complying with your regional regulations, and providing those tools and guidance, and kind of automating that as much as is possible as well. So Microsoft Copilot for security. And again, this is something that is been in development, but like I say, it is now has been announced yesterday. It's going to be on general release from the 1st of April. Copilot for security. So this is a security product that enables you to, again, respond to those threats quickly, with speed, and assess what that risk exposure would be for your organization in a matter of minutes. Microsoft Copilot for security, one of the key features that it does do is it resolves those incidents. So when you're interrogating, and as you can see here on the video, if you can see that, a lot of that automation is done for you through that security panel to resolve those incidents ahead of time. Oops. You can get device information as well. As you can see there, interrogating the dashboard, and there we go. We've got a big list of all of the key associates with there's an particular incident, what devices have been impacted by this, so you can instantly get that device information at hand across your entire estate. With identity management, you can view those active policies. So you can ask it to write a report based on this investigation, leave the assessment of the incident and supporting evidence, and there you go. Straight away, you've got your assessment, you've got the assessment of your incident, you've got the summary, who was involved, and what the next steps are, what the next actions are to resolve that moving forwards. You can find risky users, data protection with Microsoft Copilot with security. So you are, constantly interrogating, and there are, as you can see there, various security alerts that come up within that Microsoft Purview dashboard. Again, I haven't actually mentioned Microsoft Purview, but another key feature, being able to proactively review your security posture is key, and then address that. The products that are going to be integrated within Copilot for security, and this is where it starts to, get very interesting. It does include elements such as Microsoft Intune, Microsoft Purview, as I say. And again, I don't want to underplay Microsoft Purview. It really is key for protection and compliance. The Microsoft Entra, formerly Active Directory Premium, Microsoft Entra, Intune included. As you can see, some of the Defender products, and Microsoft Defender products that we know are a key part of E5, all included within Copilot for security. It's not licensed in the way that you buy a license for Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 or Copilot Studio or what have you, or Copilot for Sales. You don't buy that license. It's actually consumed through Azure, or it will be consumed through Azure from the 1st of April. And you're effectively going in there, you're applying this. You don't need to buy these individual licenses. You don't need to have any licensing prerequisites. It's not going to kind of say, hey, have you got this license? Have you got that license? Like Copilot for 365 is, that's something which works with PowerPoint, Word, and Excel. So it's critical that you've got that license for PowerPoint, Word, and Excel. With Copilot for security, it's going to be through Azure consumption, and there are no licensing prerequisites. And actually, all of these products would be included with it. So those things that I was showing you a moment ago. And again, I'm very aware that this is high level, probably, you're very much aware of all of this stuff. I'm just running through what's included, the way that it's licensed, and please contact us to learn more. Let's do a deeper dive. Let's get some real proper security experts, not just the licensing guy talking to you about this. I don't mean to downplay, but I'm just very aware that I'm covering a lot of subjects at a very high level. With Copilot for security, like I say, it is released on the 1st of April. It is licensed via that Azure consumption, and there are no licensing prerequisites. So again, please do engage with us to learn more. Again, a little brief this morning, so that does bring an end to the webinar. And please do let me know your questions. Effectively, we have two choices: which is to go deep on everything in the session today, or to keep it slightly lightly touched and get it done in 20-25 minutes, cover everything that is possible to cover at a very high level. So I hope that was beneficial, and please let me know any feedback or any questions that you do have. Okay, no problem. No questions. I don't know if that's because it wasn't detailed enough. This is stuff you already knew, but all I can say is that I do hope you contact us if there's any more detail or further questions that you do have. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.